All right, today is Tuesday, November 9. We are running our electrolyzer E-Type 0, or Type E0 I should say, and we are running at significantly higher wattage today. We have 8 volts by 40 amps. So we're in the range of 320 watts. We did reduce our flow. The way we did that was by having our two source inlet tanks go through a pump in here, that pump on the side, and that pump essentially is teed off right here, so returns the flow of most of the liquid back in, and then it's controlled by a valve. We have everything closer to 10 milliliters per minute on the cathode side. On the anode side, we had it also at 10 milliliters per minute, but it seemed to get stuck a little bit, so we upped the flow, probably twice that, at about 20-25 milliliters per minute at this point. Same setup. We have the return. That's the return line with a T, controlled by the valve streaming into the electrolyzer on the inlet bottom, and then the outlet is flowing gas up top with liquid, which is then going into our little catch tank, which should be less concentrated sodium carbonate or brine. And then on top we have a little outlet line feeding our analyzers. We have both an oxygen analyzer and a CO2 analyzer. The CO2 analyzer is going up slowly. It's at 2.4% right now. It seems to be climbing over time. It started at 0, obviously, but we're not getting a high concentration of CO2 per se, but we are getting a concentration of CO2, so that's considered a win. And then we plugged into our oxygen analyzer earlier, and it's sure enough, it was also climbing as well. The CO2 one's much more important from our standpoint. This is at 2.6%, whereas the oxygen one was climbing over 25-ish% before we took it out. So obviously we're getting CO2 there, or oxygen there. And then on the hydrogen side, that set off our monitor almost immediately, so we know we have hydrogen pretty full bore. So ultimately we're trying to figure out how to optimize our CO2 production, get it to be well over 60%. And so over time, as we flow, the concentration goes up. It's just been a slow process. But this is promising because we just started about 5 minutes ago. So you can see the CO2 building up, but it just needs to be done so over time. By seeing CO2 also being detected by our analyzer, we are feeling pretty confident that the electrolyzer is separating the sodium to be able to release the CO2, and the sodium should end up on the cathode side producing more hydroxide, and we're going to figure out a way to test that in a second. But at least we have CO2 climbing up slowly, but that's a good indication that we're on the right path.